Marketer of the Day, Episode 617, Mindset Shift, Content Recycling, Accountability Masterminds, Networking, and Consistency with Aaron Walker.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We have a return guest, Mr. Aaron Walker. His website is viewfromthetop.com. And Aaron Walker has started over a dozen businesses during his 4-decade journey. And he began when he was 18, selling to a Fortune 500 company. And 9 years later, that set Aaron out on the adventure of a lifetime. And Aaron can be identified with these 4 attributes: grit, authenticity, determination, and perseverance. And he has this thing called an Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind group. And if you know people like Dave Ramsey, Dan Miller, John Lee Dumas, Ray Edwards, that's sort of the company he keeps. And he's all about being real, about getting stuff done, about not letting all that negativity crap hold on you, because that does not serve you. So keep it simple, have fun, make some money, help people. So we're going to have a lot of that fun today and talk about taking action. So Aaron, glad to be talking to you again.
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me back on, man. What an honor it is. I really appreciate that.
Heck yeah, well, I appreciate you. And if people want to find that last episode, that is at marketeroftheday.com/175. That episode came out almost 2 years ago to the day. It was yesterday, but 2 years ago. So time flies. So how the heck you been and what's new?
Man, things are going great. We just continue to grow here at View from the Top. We've got 120-something guys now from 8 different countries that are involved in our mastermind group. We have about 13, 14 different groups, and I'm absolutely having the time of my life, man. I'm helping guys grow and helping them reach their goals and achieve the things in life that they want to accomplish. And I don't know how much better it could get than that, Robert. I mean, I'm just really having a great time.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And so this View from the Top mastermind thing, I think you mentioned it last time, and I every now and then I'll see some photos of it on Facebook where everyone gets together as a group. So yeah. Can you kind of explain that a little bit? And one thing that I'm interested in particular is, why are the groups split up, and is there a reason for that? Like, are they kind of themed together or something?
Yeah, great question. The live event is what you're referencing. Twice a year. We usually do it in April and October, and we have it here in Nashville. This year, we stayed at the Marriott here in Nashville, and we had one of Gaylord's properties where we met. Opryland owns, those properties, the Gaylord Opryland, and we had a beautiful conference center that we met in for 2.5 days. It started out, honestly, on a Thursday night where we all went to the Cascades restaurant in the Opryland Hotel for dinner. We're talking about 85 guys coming together to mastermind together for 2.5 days. And then Friday, we met at the conference center, and we had guest speakers like Ken Davis and Ken Abraham were 2 of the guest speakers this year. And then we did about 6 or 8 breakout sessions. We did things like the duct tape session, where you really dive deep into each person's life related to their superpowers, their Achilles heel, and their blind spots. And that was really a home run. They met with their individual groups. And then next year in April, we've got folks like Michael Michalowicz. He's going to be coming, being one of the guest speakers, and some other surprise guests that are going to be there as well. It's going to be just an outstanding event. But the reason that we break the groups up is because we want the guys to have plenty airtime. Every single week, we meet on a video conference call called Zoom. And 10 guys come together, and they absolutely share life together. There's an accountability tool they figure out that they fill out each and every week. There's a book that we read with predetermined questions. We have what's called Man in the Middle. And if you have more than about 10 or 12 guys in the group, you don't get much airtime. And I want guys to have plenty time to discuss their challenges and to share their wins. And so every group is the same theme. Every group is reading the same book, so you can cross-pollinate, get to know the guys in the other groups. But the reason I break it down to the smaller groups is so that you have plenty of time yourself.
Awesome. You don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. And so what I like about what you were mentioning there about how, there's that kind of weekly idea of checking in. And that's one of those things where I always forget that lesson for maybe about a year, and then I remember for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I forget it again, that it's even if we're moving slowly, that's one thing, but then it's quite another thing to completely forget about what it is you're supposed to do and completely drop the ball for 2, 3, 6 months. So when you were explaining about how like there's the accountability aspect of it, there's the book reading aspect of it, there's the man in the middle aspect of it, it's like, well, even if we're only meeting once a week, we might not have a lot to report. We might not have these huge wins, but it seems to me like just that act of keeping your eye on the ball, staying on target, and just checking in every week, even if there's not a lot to report that particular week, that seems so huge to me, especially because we ourselves might be having some of those down weeks or slow weeks, but then we hop in that mastermind and someone else is doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and it gets us inspired and motivated to take all kinds of action that week when we otherwise might not have.
Well, it's just the consistency. Every single week, that we're going to be discussing a theme or a book or a challenge or a problem. And then we're going to be hearing, quite honestly, I learn as much from hearing about other people's trials and struggles as I do my own, because I'm like, man, dadgum, I've never been there, but when I do, I'll be prepared. Or I've been there and I'm able to offer some assurance and some encouragement to the guys that had that challenge. The other thing is, Robert, we're designed to be in community. We're not designed to be in isolation. And isolation is the enemy to excellence. So if you really want to excel in your life, both personally and professionally, you need to have non-biased members around you, your trusted advisors, people that can give you great feedback. And you say, well, why would I surround myself with people on an ongoing basis? So they understand you, so they learn your personality, and they see patterns in your life, and they can help you overcome challenges and obstacles because they intimately know you. Listen, if it wasn't for my accountability group, and I've been in accountability groups every week now for over 2 decades, and I wouldn't invest that amount of time if it wasn't worth it. And so I just get these persons around me each and every week to give me that encouragement, to give me that feedback. Man, I know I've brought ideas into our group before, and they'll say, Big A, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you do in my entire life. And I'm like, it's embarrassing, but I'd rather be embarrassed in front of 10 guys that love me and appreciate me than I had in front of the whole world where it failed miserably. And so I just want these guys around me all the time to give me the encouragement to push through these upper limit challenges, and then to spur me on in times of need and to slow me down in times of need. It's just absolutely a great way to live your life.
I love it. Have that inner circle of trust, so that way they'll be honest with you and tell you if the idea completely sucks or needs changing. And then now you didn't spend 12 months on this idea only to put it out on the world and do all the work. Maybe you just spent 12 hours thinking about it, and then they adjusted, and it's like you got all that time back, which is huge. And one thing, so you mentioned about consistency, and one thing that really impressed me about you when I first discovered you and interviewed you last time and started following you was you are probably the most consistent person I've seen as far as the Facebook Live videos. Maybe Grant Cardone has you beat, but I don't think anyone can do more Facebook Lives than that guy. But you were really good at, I think, just about every morning, you're on your walk at Camp Greenway, talking about some stuff. And sometimes it's about, positivity and choosing to be happy. And one thing that really sticks with me is you had this one live stream talking about, you were looking at some course where they talked about how to read 4 books at a time and like turn all 4 pages at once and read all the stuff. And you were saying like, you gotta slow down. You can't let yourself get all stressed out and get all overwhelmed. So what's the deal with those live morning Facebook streams? Is it every single day? Where do you get the ideas, and how do you show up every day to do it?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, let me give you a little backstory and tell you how this even came about. About 3.5 years ago, I was on the Greenway walking. The Greenway, the Station Camp Greenway's just down the end of my street. And so I go down there and park and walk the Greenway. It's beautiful in Sumner County. It goes all the way around our county. And there's one section of it that I walk. And I was on it one day, and I had this real profound thought came to my mind. And I thought, man, I'd love to share this with my audience. And then I remembered somebody said something about Facebook Live. And I'm like, I stopped and I got my phone out. And Robert, I'm embarrassed to admit, I didn't even know how to do it. I didn't know how to do Facebook Live. And I said, I'm a smart guy. I can figure this out. So finally I did. I figured out how to do it. And I thought, I don't even know how to start this. I don't even know, like, what should I say at the beginning? And I'm a happy person just by nature. I just am. I choose to be happy. And so I thought, I'll just be myself. So I got on there and I hit start. And when I did, I threw the phone up and I looked at it and I went, "Hey, it's Big A coming to you live from the Station Camp Greenway," just as a joke. And I went ahead and said what I wanted to say, just kind of playing, and so I hit stop. It was about 2 minutes. I hit stop. And man, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, people were commenting. They were saying things about it. And I thought, dang, there's people actually watching this. So I started responding and replying to their questions and their comments. And next day I'm back walking again. I think, you know what? I did that yesterday. Let's do it again and see what happens. Well, that was 3.5 years ago. And now I do 4 of those every week and have for 3.5 years. And it's been just an absolute joy for me to be able to share with people. I can't tell you what a marketing tool that is, because now we get thousands and thousands of views, comments, and shares. I did a rant one day. I was so mad about the way parents allow their kids to use social media. And parents are always saying, well, they're in there and I can't get them off. And I went out there and I said, listen, it's you. You're the parent. Step up to the plate. And I just went on about a 3-minute rant, and it got 40,000 organic views and 700 shares. And I said, well, there's certain topics that people want to talk about. There's others that they need to know what to do and to help with. So I just picked the topics that have been important to me over my 40-year career. I try to keep it fresh. I try to keep it short, and I try to give just some actionable tips to how they can accomplish the things that they want to do. So it's just been a blast to do these Facebook Lives.
Awesome. Well, that is a very good reason for people, as we're still listening here, to seek you out and add you on Facebook, search Aaron Walker, and see some of those Facebook Lives for yourself, and see some of those, sometimes the hot button topics covered. Like I remember you posted something a couple of years ago about there was a plant that was dying, and it was a lot of jokes about a happy marriage, and
Right.
how your marriage kind of in a way like depended on that plant living or dying, and just that post got that like a huge engagement on that as well, like tons of likes, tons of shares, tons of comments, and all that good stuff. So as far as the when you do these rants, or you like have these inspirational messages, like, do you just go with what comes to you, or do you keep an idea file, or how do you decide on what that content is going to be about?
Yeah, it's all the above. Some days, it just doesn't come. You know what I'm saying? I'm a person of faith. I'm a Christian by faith. And so I pray every day and I say, God, if you got a word you want me to share, give it to me. And oftentimes he does. Sometimes I don't think he's listening. And so I'm like, man, I've got nothing today. And then I've written hundreds of blogs, and I'll look over my blogs and I'll go, oh man, you know what? I haven't talked about this topic in a long time. The other thing that I do on these is they're not rehearsed, they're not scripted, they're not polished. And I think that's why people like them. They can identify with some of the challenges. Also, I'm very transparent and vulnerable. I'll get on there in a minute and say, hey, Robin and I got in a fight about this or that, and I need your input, I need your advice, or these are things that we work through. Robin and I have been married 39 years in June, so we've covered the majority of the arguments, and so I've got some tips to say and not to say, and I tell the truth. I can't stand the Facebook persona of, hey, everything is good for me and my business is wonderful and I'm on the beach in Hawaii and I work 4 hours a week and that's all. It's like, you know what, man, get real. I mean, that's not the way life is. I mean, let's share the challenges. Let's tell when you have an argument and your kids are not behaving and business is failing and you don't feel good today. And let's just be real. And I think if the world is starving for authenticity, Robert, I'm just telling you, the world is looking for people that's going to tell them the truth. And that's what the masterminds have taught me. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to open my life up. It'll be an open book. And if it helps one person today, to me, it was worth it.
Awesome. Well, keeps it simple, and it goes with what is working for you. And I can definitely relate to that. It's like the super fake or positive or polished video content or YouTube posts. Those are okay for a while, but then it seems like when there's that fakeness, it's like you forget what lies you told, right? You forget how much you exaggerated, and then the story changes. But if you're authentic, if you give those little nuggets of realness of what you've been going on through, then those things never change. And that's a really good idea there that I'm going to use is going back to old blog posts, because I'm sure, I guarantee you've experienced this. I experienced this too. I'll go back to something I wrote years ago, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I'll think I have absolutely no memory of writing that, but I can see why I wrote that, and that sounds really smart, and I haven't thought about that for a while. So that's a really good tip right there for those of us to go back and look at our old content, because there might be some important reminder that we've forgotten or our audience has forgotten, or maybe we can look back at something we wrote or said years ago with fresh eyes and kind of breathe new life to it and update it for the current year. So that's pretty awesome. And one technique,
Robert, I'd like to, before we go further, before I forget, I'd like to give a few tips of some things that we do from a business standpoint that may be beneficial to your audience.
Sure, let's do it.
So one of the things that we do here is we have a team, and the team will take and categorize every single blog. And so we've got it on a Google Doc, and everyone is linked, and it gives the topic, and I can go back and kind of scan that. The other thing that we do is when I do a Facebook Live, one of our VAs will grab that off Facebook, send it to YouTube. YouTube transcribes it automatically. We'll take that transcribed that's the reason it's so important that you use your keywords when you're doing a video, is because YouTube transcribes it, and then that has SEO value. And so we'll grab that transcription, and then we'll clean it up. One of our VAs will take it and clean it up and make it into a blog post, because the people watching me on Facebook Live are not the same people that's reading my blogs. Then we'll take that blog after it's cleaned up, and we'll do excerpts out of that and post it on Instagram, or we'll do excerpts and put it on a meme, and we'll put it in to Twitter. And there are so many ways you can multi-use whatever you do in that one video. And so now we'll take those and we'll go back, and I'll do Alexa briefs. And then we can also post, we've got a Fire TV station, so we can go and upload that into that Fire TV. And then I got content now for the Alexa briefs. I can bring it up on my screen, refresh my memory, and I can sit here and do 3 or 4 weeks worth of Alexa briefs. And it gives you so much content when you do a 2 or 3 minute video. But the important thing is to catalog it. You've got to do that, or you won't be able to keep up with it. And then we have a VA that'll go through, and he'll see how many likes, how many shares, and how many views. And then we rank those. And then we'll keep up with the metrics, and we'll go back and we'll say, hey, people really enjoy it when you talk about this, or they really enjoy this. And topics that are not important, people don't comment on, they don't share it, they don't like it, we eliminate it from future conversations because our audience is not interested in that. And so we really dial into the metrics of what we're doing so that we give the audience what they're looking for.
That is very interesting. So that way you have both sides of the coin. You have the constantly churning out side of things, but then you're also looking back somewhat scientifically and saying, let's see what topics land and what don't. And then you also have your mechanical process, so to speak, where you're not just only doing those Facebook Lives, but some people hang out on Twitter, some people hang out on Instagram, some people listen to their Alexa flash briefings. So you're continuously cranking out the content, but then also looking for what you can repurpose, so that way you can meet people where you're at. So that way you're not just on Facebook, or maybe 30% of the people might there. You might then pick up, an extra 20% on Twitter, an extra 20% on Instagram. That's a really good reminder for all of us, or a lesson for some of us for the first time, to recycle that content and don't just blindly forever do the machine gun, right? Put the content out, but then also look back so that you're improving.
And once you figure out what works, there's a software out there called repurpose.io, and that will take and put it on 6 different platforms simultaneously. So there's all different types of reuse and repurpose that you can do with your content. The thing that you mentioned I think is important is you said your systems. Systems and processes are paramount, and we have systems and processes for everything we do. And I heard James Clear say a quote once. He said, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And so I want to encourage you guys today that if you don't have systems and processes in place, you're going to be treading in the mud for a long time. But when you set up these systems and these processes by which many of the things you can automate, it really opens up the time for you to create better content. So really do an evaluation for you personally and figure out if you can, automate it, eliminate it, or delegate it. And if you can do any of those three, just pay attention to that.
I like that a lot. And what comes to mind as you're talking about that is that if we use these systems, then that's something that we can do fast. We can outsource it like you're talking about. We can turn our attention into our creativity, into the content, into what we're going to talk about, and not so much on all those technical details. And that allows us to be consistent, right? If we have those dependable systems, right, if we kind of know what we're doing, then we don't have to scramble every single day, and we don't have to spend 4 hours a day getting our content created. We can just spend a few minutes and let the system do the work. I love it.
Video has absolutely been a game changer for us. And a guy told me about a year and a half, 2 years ago, he said, I love watching your stuff. And he said, I love that you're paying attention to adding good content. And I said, well, I'm not very good on the video. He said, forget the way you look and just concentrate on adding the value. And that's what we all need to do. A lot of people don't use video because they're like, they don't hear. I hate the way I sound, right? I'm country, I'm Southern, and I hate the way I sound. But the truth is, that's the way God made me. And it is what it is. I do have some value to add, and I've just got to get over the fact that I'm Southern, I'm country, and it is what it is. But I just cut on the video, share my heart, and people resonate with the value. Same way with you guys. A lot of people won't use video because of that. And I just tell you, you got to suck it up and get over it, and you just got to go for it. You can do the same thing I'm doing 100%.
Yeah, totally. There's production quality, and then there's content quality. If I'm looking at someone's video and it's poor quality, it's in the rain, if their accent's weird or different, I don't care as long as the stuff that they're saying is good. And if I had to choose one or the other, if I had to choose between bad production quality and great, or even average production quality and great content versus really slick, polished, edited, but the content sucks, of course I'll go for the homemade authenticness.
Sure. That's all we're looking for, Robert. We're looking for things that how your life can impact and change mine. We're looking for answers. I did a LinkedIn profile about 3 or 4 years ago, and I hired a coach named Michael Yablowski on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn expert, and he came to me and he got on our all hands ISI Facebook group with all of our guys, and he embarrassed me to death. He goes, I'm going to use you as a case study with your LinkedIn profile. I said, okay, what is it? And he said, I know you're big buddies with Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller and Ken Abraham and all those guys, and that's all you talk about in your profile. He said, nobody cares that you know them. I started laughing. He said, I did a word cloud, and that's all the words. He said, all people are interested in is how they can take what you know and change their life. And he said, what you need to start doing is answering the questions. You need to give the content. You need to share your ideas and your thoughts. They don't care who you know. They don't care who you've been with. They don't care who you hang out with. What they want to know is what you know, so it will change their life. And it gave me a really different perspective. And so I started now talking less about who I hang with and who I know. And then I use the content that the 40 years have given me, the 12 businesses that I've owned, and I share with people, this is what you need to do. You change these things and it will impact your life. And I think it's a mindset shift. We have to get into a mindset of how can I add great content, whether it be through video or podcast or blogs or books or whatever it is. How can I add the best content?
That's an interesting wake-up call there, that people don't care about who you know. They care about getting their questions answered. They care about absorbing your advice and tips into solving their own problems. That's great. And sort of along those lines of us talking about being authentic, being consistent, and using this power of video, you shared a really awesome, I said awesome about 20 times in our interview. So a really great story, I should say, where you have been sending out these real short videos for people on their birthdays, if you had a really great customer experience with the bank. So can you tell us a little bit about that, about what kind of success you had from these short, quick personal videos?
Sure. Well, I just decided to post one a couple of days ago, and we're recording this in November. So it's just a couple of days ago. I was in the bank and I was doing a pretty difficult transaction, and the little guy name's Connor, was waiting on me. And I've only known him about 6 months, and he's just done an outstanding job. Every time I'm in there, he's got a smile. He tells me it's no problem. I can take care of this. And I went in the other day to open 4 bank accounts, and I knew it was going to be a pain. He said, I'll tell you what, Mr. Walker. He said, I'll take care of all the paperwork. I'll have it ready in a folder for you tomorrow. All you've got to do is come in and sign. No need for you to wait around here today. I've got it. I said, are you kidding me? And he said, no. Go back the next day. I signed my name. I'm out of there in like 2 or 3 minutes. And I think, man, that was unbelievable, the experience. He's always smiling. He's always telling me, hey, it's not a problem. I can take care of you. I'm happy to do it. He thinks ahead. And so I asked him, I said, who's your direct report? And he told me. And I said, email me their email address. And he looked at me kind of funny. I said, don't worry, it's okay. So he emailed me their email. So I came back to my office and I sat down in front of the computer and I turned it on and I said, hey, this is Aaron Walker, president and founder of View from the Top. And I've been a lifelong customer of Volunteer State Bank. And I just want to tell you right now, you've hit a home run with a guy named Connor Starks. Connor takes care of me. And I went through the video and I said all the things that I just told you. And I said, you need more Connors in your bank because they're the ones that make the difference. And I just want to tell you right now, you've got a champion with this guy. Well, it was a 2-minute video. So I saved it as an MP4 file and I emailed it to the branch manager. Well, the branch manager sent it to the president of the bank. And the next day I get an email from the branch manager, the vice president of the bank, and the president of the bank thanking me for highlighting Connor. Well, don't you think for a minute that put a feather in Connor's cap? That's going to be really good for him in future decisions in his longevity at the bank. My point in doing that was to help him because we spend all of our time complaining, right? We'll raise our hand and tell the waitress, bring me the manager, and you'll go, the macaroni and cheese is cold and the steak is no good and the service was bad. But rarely do you go, hey, send the manager over here. When they get over there, you say, this is the best macaroni and cheese I've ever had. And this steak was cooked to perfection. And your waitress needs a raise because she took care of me like a king. Rarely do we do that. So I've just found it very, very helpful to the people. I look for people doing good. And then I'll do a video and I'll send it to their direct report. And I can't tell you how much better I feel about myself. I can't tell you how thankful they are. And the people that own the establishment gives them a sense of encouragement. So I go places all the time now and people say, thank you for doing that. I appreciate you sending me this. This was so helpful to me. It's just a much cooler way to live your life, trying to catch people doing things right rather than complaining about people doing things wrong.
Have that positivity, put the good in the world. And it only took you 2 minutes to have all those really huge effects there. And just that whole idea there of, reaching out and putting in a few minutes a day, that's huge. I first heard about this concept when I was hearing about George H.W. Bush, where he would meet somebody, get their business card, write down 1 or 2 keywords on the business card, and then send just 4 thank you letters per day. And if a guy who at the time was president of the United States can find the time to do it, then we all can find the time to do it.
Yeah.
And then there's also your buddy from Interview Valet, Tom Schwab, who's really consistent on LinkedIn, especially about doing his daily podcast discovery. And he'll record, again, these quick 1 to 2 minute videos saying, this such and such podcast is really good, and here's why you should listen to it. And something like that is just so easy, either the way he does it or the way that you do it, where you look for the good, you look for some kind of compliment, look for some good thing to say about someone's marketing or someone's service and send that quick thing out. And 2 things that you said about this concept earlier today stuck with me. And one thing that stuck with me about it was that it's easier at this point in time to do it than ever before with the smartphones and the apps. You can click a button, you could do it, you can send it out. But many people out there are afraid to do it. So the competition is super duper thin. The second thing that you said about this concept, which blew my mind, but was also a duh moment for me, was that shooting a 2-minute video is quicker than sending an email, is quicker than sending that thank you card. So we all need to get over ourselves and get over the fear, hesitation, uncertainty, doubt, and start sending out some of these quick personal videos, because it's one of the easiest things to do. No one does it, and it has all kinds of added benefits.
Robert, let me give you another example on this, and I want people to really hear it. If they don't hear anything else in this interview but this, let's camp out here for a minute. Just think about it for a second. If I had come back and I'd written an email and I said, "Dear Kim, this is Aaron Walker at View from the Top. Connor did an amazing job." She read it. It was monotone. It would have never gotten past the branch manager. I guarantee you that would have never gotten past her. But when I sit in front of the camera and I'm smiling and I'm gesturing and I'm pointing and I'm laughing and I'm like, she can see all this in my face, my joy, my happiness. It's so personal. And see, the other thing is the competition is thin because people are afraid to do it. But the impression is indelible forever in their mind when they see that video. An email, she would have read it and hit delete. She would have replied, said, "Thank you, I appreciate you, complimenting him." But that video, you can't unsee something once you've seen it. And they're like, they've got it. They see the smile and the gestures. I'm just telling you, it's more important than you realize. And listen, I use this to invite guests to be on my podcast. I use it to invite people to endorse my books. I use it to invite people to speak at conferences that I lead. I don't know, and I'd have to go back and look, and I don't want to give the wrong metrics here, but to the best of my memory, and I do these all day long, every day, I've never been turned down by a person with a request through video.
Interesting.
Because it's so personal. Emails are easy to delete because everybody is doing it. But video, I talked about birthdays also. It is amazing to me how important birthdays are to people. Like sometimes I'm like, you don't have to say anything about my birthday. Let's just move on. But I'm almost 60. I guess so. That's the reason. But for most people, it's like a big deal. And so I started thinking about that, what a big deal it was. And so we started sending messages out, private messaging to every person that follows us on their birthday. We have a private message that goes to each person. And so people that have made a huge impact. Now, I can't do that. I mean, we have a pretty big platform, so I can't do the videos for every person. But people that have made huge impacts are people that are really important from the standpoint of being spokespersons at conferences and things like that. There may be 5 or 6 a week that I'm able to do. I'll do a video and send to them. I can't tell you the impact that has on them and how much they thank me. And this was introduced to me years ago by a guy. And when I got it, I watched it 3 times. I took it home and showed it to my wife. He was inviting me to speak. I would never go home and show her an email. But I went home and I watched that video request of me to speak 3 times and then showed it to my wife. I think people really underestimate. They hear me say this, but I can't overemphasize the value of doing that. And I told this morning in the Facebook Live, there were 186 birthday wishes to a particular guy that everybody would know who he was if I called his name. And there was one video. I did the video. And we'll call him Billy. Just, that's not his name. But I said, "Hey, Billy, this is Big A here, man. Today's your birthday. You're going to kill it, man. I hope you have fun with your family. Go out today, do something. I better not catch your honey and working. You better go home, be with your family." There was one video. What do you think made the biggest impression on that guy?
You're the person that stood out.
No question about it. And it was personable. So anyway, we'll move on. We won't keep hammering this. If you guys want to rock the world, start using video.
And that's a good, what I picked up from you, what you said there is, I think it's a good life lesson in general to just be on the lookout of what impresses you and then look to see if you can do the same thing. Like you mentioned, it wasn't just that you had a video, but you went and showed it to your wife, and you wouldn't have showed her an email anyway. So just if whether it's video or not, if someone applies some kind of a marketing technique to us and it makes us really sit up and pay attention and everything else goes to the wayside and we tell everyone else that we know, then maybe we ourselves should look into implementing that sort of thing on our own.
Without a question. No question about it. Just try it. Hey, you can't lose anything, right? So just pick out 10 people, do the videos like I'm talking about. And Robert, if I were to send you one today and just said, Hey, Robert, man, thank you for having me on your show today. I so enjoyed it. Listen, man, I want you to consider being on my show. Like, I'd love to interview you because you have this video sales tactics, and I want to talk about that more. And you're like, you would smile. You would smile watching it, and you go, man, yes, I would love to do that. But if it was an email, it'd be like, hey, Robert, I'd like to have you on, et cetera. And you're like, yeah, I don't really have time. There's just a personal element to it that I can't describe all the psychology behind it. But all I know is this, it works.
Well, now you have to send me an email after this, right? Now looking forward to being part of the club.
There you go. Okay, big man.
So as we're winding down our conversation here, I don't know, like sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit behind the eight ball as far as some of this nurturing, relationship building, follow-up sort of stuff. And it's really easy for all of us to get bogged down, overwhelmed, saying that, well, I need to go on Facebook and go down the list of birthdays and I need to send 100 videos. And it's easy to go to a mastermind group and say, here's what I want to do and get the advice and go home and get motivated. But ultimately, we ourselves have to carve out the time, put in the effort, and send out these quick reach outs, send out these quick videos. So do you have any advice to speak to that and tell us what we need to know in order to actually record these quick videos so that way it doesn't become one of those things on the wish list?
Well, here's the thing. You need a plan. First of all, you can take a Google document or a Google sheet, and like every year, 3 to 6 months in advance, I know what I'm going to be doing. I know the people I'm going to interview, the books I'm going to read, the questions I'm going to ask, the blogs I'm going to write. I title those blogs, the videos I'm going to do, the processes, the courses, whatever we're going to do. I know what I'm going to be doing. I schedule it. That way the shiny object syndrome doesn't come along and I go, oh, yeah, that looks good. I'll go do that. No, it's not on my plan, so I'm not going to do it. We also do the Brian Moran 12-week year. And guys, listen, if you're not doing that, you're missing out big time. We've been doing that for years now. Brian is an amazing guy. He's got a great platform, and it's called the 12-week year. And it just helps you focus on the task of 2 or 3 major goals. And if you do those tasks every single day and you grade yourself as to whether you did all 5 or 10 tasks that day, the goal will take care of itself. They're called lead indicators, and we need to pay attention to the lead indicators. It's very simple. We've got guys literally in our mastermind group that implemented this strategy, not figuratively, literally, that have added millions of dollars of top-line revenue because they follow the 12-week year principle. It's just very narrow focus. It eliminates the distractions. It allows you to focus on these tasks that you've got to do every day. Same way with this. If you say, hey, I'm only going to do 3 of these videos a day. I'm going to do an endorsement. I'm going to reach out to 2 people, 2 videos. That will take you every bit of 10 minutes. But if you've got a plan and it's written, it's just a dream if it's not written. I want you to write it down and follow that plan every single day. I do a lot of Facebook Lives, but it's intentional. I do a lot of interviews, but it's intentional. I go home at night, sometimes I'm tired and I'm give out because I don't leave anything on the field. I squeeze every drop out of the towel every single day. And I work really, really hard the 4 days a week that I work. And then I'm able to take off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and do the things that I want to do because I'm intentional. I'm very, very methodical. We're very regimented. We're very scheduled. And if you make a commitment, I'm very consistent. You can do the same thing. I'm no rocket scientist, okay? I'm not the sharpest tack in the box. But what I do have is a level of commitment, that grit, that determination, that perseverance. And I have a plan. And I just stick to my plan and I do it every day. You can too. If you're hearing my voice, I'm not doing one thing that you can't do yourself every single day.
Great advice. We all need a plan, and we all need to keep it simple, but also be organized, even down to the point where we know what new skills we need to learn in these next 90 days, what books we need to read. That way we know if something comes along, if that's part of the plan, if that's a real opportunity, or if that's one of those bright, shiny objects that takes us away from the plan. And we're at the part in the year where the year itself is winding down. People are thinking about, how do I start next year strong? And I'm hearing that all over the place. People saying things like, what is on your radar next year? What sorts of courses or skills or people do you need to hire next year, and plan for those sorts of things? And it might just be what I'm noticing, but I hadn't heard that been taught before. You hear about people saying, figure out what your goals are for next year and things like that. But I never had heard as far as plan what sorts of things you're going to want to know, what books you're going to want to read. So that's really helpful for me especially. So as we're winding down our conversation here, do you think we left anything out? Do you think that there are things that people need to know as far as things we've talked about today?
Oh man, there's so much, Robert. We could talk the remainder of the day and not cover all the topics. If they'll just implement these few strategies that we've talked about today, I want to encourage you today also, if you're not in an accountability group, if you're not in a mastermind group, we're designed to be in community. And I want to encourage you today, even if you can't afford to get in a mastermind group, get 2 or 3 guys in your community, get on Zoom, get on Skype, start meeting with guys on a regular basis, and it'll take your life to the next level. If you are in a position to join a great mastermind group, I encourage you to reach out to us at viewfromthetop.com. There's an application you can fill out. Get in before the end of the year and go ahead and be ready for 2019. It will radically, I promise you, transform your life beyond anything that you could ever imagine if you'll surround yourself with quality people. Jim Rohn says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you want to fly with the eagles, you got to quit running with the turkeys. You got to get around guys that are making it happen. And I invite you today to get involved in our mastermind group, Iron Sharpens Iron. You can find us at viewfromthetop.com.
Makes perfect sense to me. And it's one of those things, I mean, right out of Think and Grow Rich, of if you're not in a mastermind or in a bad mastermind, you don't get it. But if you are in that group that moves you along and helps you, encourages you, it is like night and day. It is indescribable. We all need whatever kind of mastermind group helps us along. So viewfromthetop.com. So you mentioned that there's this Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind. Are there any other links or resources or things you want to drop here as far as what people should do after listening to us today?
Yeah. You know what else would help you? If you would go to that same website, viewfromthetop.com, there's a couple of documents that I wrote. One of them is called a personal assessment, and it really dives deep into yourself. There are 3 documents, and I'm going to give them to you. If you'll just go there and download them, they're free. I've taken the price off. One really helps you understand your identity, ideals, relationships, your career, your faith, your family. It's just really a personal evaluation. Another one that I think is the most important is, what do I want? Most people don't know what they really want. They don't live proactively, they live reactively. And in this document, there's 25 questions that you're honest with, and you answer the questions. It'll help you uncover what you want. For those that are married, there's a document there called the Spouse Survey. You can get it at viewfromthetop.com/spouse survey. And it's 25 questions that each of you and your spouse can answer that will help take your relationship to the next level. So anyway, those are for free for people that listen to these podcasts. So go to viewfromthetop.com, download all 3 as a gift from me.
How very generous. And how many years did you say you were married? 39?
39, yeah. In June, it'll be 39 years.
So you would be one of the world's most foremost experts on making this marriage thing work. You made it work for 39 years, right?
I've been one of the biggest experts on how to blunder it up and fix it along the way. So I've got some experience there, some tips that we can give you. I think it'll be beneficial to you.
I think so too. So View from the Top is the place to go if you want to better your best, if you want to be just 10% happier, 10% more productive, hit all your goals, and have an amazing life and get all these benefits that you see people have and do. And you want to be authentic and get the results and get that fulfillment in your life without breaking your back, without working 200 hours a day, by keeping it simple, then viewfromthetop.com is the place to go. And Aaron Walker is the guy to follow. Watch his live streams, check out his blog posts, take that personal assessment, look into that Iron Sharpens Iron's Mastermind. I think you have a book and a podcast as well. So there are all kinds of amazing resources to make your marriage work, make your faith work, to just be a better person, have a better business. And it doesn't take a lot, just implementing some of these strategies, like having the accountability mastermind and being consistent, having your plan and using video and reaching out personally. Just some of these really easy to do things that are easy to do, but also easy not to do. And a lot of people don't do them. So be one of the few people that do them and stand out. And we'll see you at viewfromthetop.com. And thanks, Mr. Aaron Walker from the Camp Greenway, for coming again and blowing our minds and telling us what we need to know and getting us on the right track. Really appreciate it, and I appreciate you too.
Have a good day, Robert. We'll see you, buddy.
All right, I better get that personal video. I'll hold you to it.
That sounds good, man. That's awesome.
Subscribe to us right now while it's still fresh on your mind at marketeroftheday.com/iTunes.